Paula Noonan from Colorado Capitol Watch.
Perfect.
Yes. She is the delegate that helped.
The C-SPAN.
Okay. She is one of the organizers of this event. We kind of put in the footwork with the getting the protests and stuff, but Paula got the delegates out here onto the streets to meet with the people. So what made you bring the delegates out here, and how significant is this?
I don't know if it's a first, but it's definitely a first for me, and I did it because I felt it's so important that the delegates actually talk to the people that we're supposed to be representing. And while they're labeled protesters by the press, in my view, they're citizens who have voices, and those voices need to be heard.
Nice. And what would be something that you would ask your fellow delegates before going into the DNC?
I would ask all of them to come out here with me tomorrow so we can do this together.
Nice.
It would be wonderful to have 2,000 delegates out here talking to 2,000 citizens of this state and other states who are interested in the future of the United States of America.
Nice. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so you're from Iraq Veterans Against the War. You came down here to steal the delegates. What is something that you want to talk to them about before they go into the convention?
I want to let them know that even though the majority of the U.S. population is against this war, that the people that are directly involved are sharing this human aspect of the war, and let them know that it's more than just numbers, it's more than money, it's more than news stories, that there's people that serve there, that we have experiences, and we need to share those experiences with people so they can connect on a more personal level about the war, and so they know that the war is costing more than just lives and money.
Yeah. Nice, thank you. And what would be something that you would ask a delegate back if you could ask those guys the questions who are going to the DNC? What would be something that you would ask them?
I want to ask them that they make sure they hold the Democrats accountable this year, and that when they were elected in '06 on the anti-war platform, they didn't do anything. They kept funding the war and didn't do anything substantial to bring the troops home. I want to make sure and ask them, what are they going to do to end the war now? Not 18 months from now, not 100 years from now. Now means now, troops home now.
Yes, thank you, man. So we're down here with the delegates. What brings you out here to speak to the delegates today, and what are you going to talk to them about before they go into the convention?
Well, I just want to remind them that if any real change that we want, it has to be beginning to end the war. We have to end this war, because economically it's draining us. Psychologically, it's affecting us in tremendous ways, not just the immediate families, but in the long run, their children. You know, the effects that it has on our veterans is going to be tremendous. We haven't seen the full effect. We need to end this war now. If we want to make the changes that we want to make, this war has to end for many, many reasons. So I'd like to do that. I'd like to say that to them.
Nice. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
So we're meeting here to delegates today. What is something that you would like to say to the delegates before they go into the DNC?
Well, our big thing as Veterans for Peace is to leave Iraq and to leave it now. Even 16 months is not satisfactory to us.
And what do you?
And when they come home, the other thing plug I'd want to put in is when they come home, we would want to see them taken care of. I mean, the PTSD and all the other things that we're hearing is plaguing many, quite a large percent of them. I've heard as many as 30-40% maybe even. So those are issues that are important to us.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you very much.
Sure.
So I'm here with Matt. You're a delegate from Florida?
Yes.
And so what made you come down here to meet with the protesters today?
Really, my thing is that democracy in action is when you hear so many different voices out on the streets, when you actually get to see the people that are fighting for their causes. That's where I get into it. I'm a political science professor, or I shouldn't say professor, but I do teach undergraduate classes. I want to get into political science, I want to go into law, I want to get into human rights. Seeing all these different voices, from the pro-lifers to the anti-war to just everyone out here, is absolutely amazing. And what better place than at a national convention when the spotlight is on not only the city but the politics at hand that really are going to be sculpting America.
Nice. And if there was a question that you could ask your fellow delegates before going into the convention, what would you ask them?
Oh God, talk about being put on the spot here. Will you or will you not be supporting gay marriages in 2008 until 2012?
Nice.
And why?
Nice. Thank you, man. What brought you down here today to talk to the delegates, and what was something that, what point were you trying to make with them and expressing?
Well, I've got a booth over in Cuernavaca Park. I'm the Executive Director of Colorado Jobs with Justice, and we are out trying to get folks to sign postcards to convince the new legislature, the new Congress, and the new administration to revisit the Employee Free Choice Act, which was some legislation that passed out of the House, almost had 60 votes in the Senate, and now that everything's being filibustered, you need 60 votes. I think it had about 58 votes. But what it does is it really makes it easier for workers to join unions if they want to. The last statistic I saw was that 50% of working people in the United States would belong to a union if they could. And also stiffen the penalties for corporations that actively engage in union busting. A lot of people lose their jobs because they start talking about unions, and there's actually a cottage industry, or I guess a mansion industry, a castle industry, where lawyers, it's $1 billion a year industry, where they'll go out and they'll teach corporations about the loopholes in labor law that they can jump through to keep unions out. And labor unions have a long and unfortunately bloody history in the United States. They have fought for 40-hour work week, overtime, health care, all these benefits that people enjoy now and kind of take for granted or feel entitled to. Those were fought for and in many cases won with blood. And people don't realize it. Over the last 40 years, unions have gotten very weak. So this is some legislation that, again, if it had passed out of the Congress, our current president would have vetoed it. But the fact that it got so close means that if we can get some different folks in Congress, or if we can get people who don't engage in filibusters, which the last Congress was there was a nuclear option tossed around, and some people made it seem like filibusters were illegal, then we can get this legislation through, and working people can get the justice that they deserve and some leverage against corporations.
Nice. And then what would be a question, if you could ask the delegates something before they went into the DNC, what would you ask them?
Oh, geez. Are you enjoying your time in Colorado? I'm surprised that, and pleasantly surprised that they came down here into the streets to talk to us, because it's two different worlds. You have a lot of glitz and glamour inside the Pepsi Center, and every day I'm out in the streets, I'm dealing with people, grassroots. I'm a community organizer, working people every day who are struggling, and it's really great to see them out here. So I don't really have one thing that I would tell them other than support workers' rights and end the war, because the war really hurts the economy domestically. 1/5 of all of the $548 billion so far that's been spent in the war has gone to private corporations. So, and it's hurting working people here, because that's money that we can't spend on domestic programs for social safety nets that will help people out who can't find jobs because they've been, outsourced or mechanized. So I guess, stand up for the common people. Let's make some real change. I mean, there's a lot of work to do in this country, and it's going to take a lot more than, passing a few feel-good bills. We need a complete overhaul of the way that we do things in this country.
Nice. Thank you, man.
Thanks.
Okay, so you came down here today to meet with some of the demonstrators and activists. What brought you down here to listen to what they had to say?
Really, I was waiting to get on the shuttle. And somebody said, hey, we're having a meet and greet with demonstrators. Mm-hmm. And I was planning on talking to demonstrators at the Pepsi Center. Mm-hmm. I don't even know quite what the fence looks like, but I was going to walk over and talk to folks.
Yeah. Nice.
And so, I want to hear, I think people think we have a lot more power than we really have. If we had a peace delegate and a war delegate, and the decision hadn't been made yet, then we really would have power.
Yeah.
But so anyway, so that's why I came down.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And what would be something that you would ask your fellow delegates before they went to the DNC? If you could ask them anything, what would you ask other delegates? What would be a question to them?
They have to listen to David Petraeus, whoever it may be, or McCain. But the fact that McCain has said that major offensive fighting will end by his first term, I think he's not giving any credit for that statement.
What do you think can be done to make the political process more meaningful?